Well, thank you again for having CXtec for having us here. We do have a Great Lakes shirt, and it does say Great Lakes, and we encourage questions. And please bear with us if our answers are geared around our products. Unfortunately, we don't know other people as well as we know ourselves. So our answers will be based upon what our experiences are, what we know, and we certainly encourage any type of questions that you may have. As I mentioned, it's dealing with cooling in a data center. We're in data centers quite a bit and see all kinds of issues. The first thing I think which is most amazing to me is the crack units, the air conditioning units, what these things cost. They're just incredible. I mean, the amount of money that those things cost, and then you have to go buy some blowers and fans and air conditioners for your cabinets. Besides, I think is kind of crazy. Why did you spend $500,000 for a crack unit if you have to spend so much more to keep the room cool? So Bill's probably going to go over most of that as how to make the best use of your crack unit, which we found to be probably the biggest error in the data center is just not managing the air correctly. So with that, we're going to travel on. Okay, this I'm sure all of you are familiar with. I mean, obviously, a hot aisle is where the backs of the cabinets face each other. Hot air blows into here. The difficult part of that can be bringing someone in this aisle. It's 95 to 100 degrees and convincing them that the room is cool. Not easy to do. The cool aisle obviously has the vents in the floor, and the cabinets are being asked to draw this cold air into their server hoods. That can be kind of difficult. Bill will kind of go over that too. But if you look at this, you'll notice that there's really only vents in the cold aisle. Okay? Oftentimes you can think of your own places. Hopefully no one raises their hand, but you don't have vents or perf floor tiles in your hot aisle. What we found there is once you start putting vents in your hot aisle, now you're shoving the hot air up, and it can now be recirculated into here. If you keep just perf tiles in the cold aisle, you're creating positive pressure here. You will get no circulation over, or very little. So make sure that your perf tiles are only in the cold aisle. We've seen other people put fancy metal walls on top and then put doors on the sides of rows and everything. Okay, they got a couple, but yeah, I mean, this is what we're talking about. You spend all the money for the crack unit, and now you got to buy more stuff to create and block off air. It seems kind of crazy. So that's the first thing that I would recommend that you do is if you do have those, pop those tiles out, stick them in the cold area, and then draw the solid in. Any questions on what we got going on here? So I'm done with the portion.
Good job, Rick.
This is Bill, and I'll let him take over from here. Thank you. I'm not as good as that.
It's off the barbecue, so it's good.
My name is Bill Santucci. I'm Director of Engineering of Great Lakes. I've been with them for about 14 years now. So I kind of grew with the changing of how the data centers, all the equipment, and then what we're seeing with the cooling conditions. Well, sorry, I kind of get right into the technical thing, but that's part of what I do. Best practices is what we're going to kind of go over. Just real simple, cost-effective tricks and methods just to pay attention to and manage correctly. What we've seen in the field is people have open holes everywhere, inside the cabinet, into the floor, into returns, and those are just short-circuiting and just simply costing money. So what happens if people keep turning the crack unit up and just overloading them? Very simple tricks. Everyone's seen some brush grommets in the floor tiles. Make sure you just seal all the gaps in every manner. Filler panels in every aspect of it. And also we have, there's some products that you can actually have where you won't short circuit around inside the cabinets. There are wider cabinets, networking cabinets, but you still have to maintain the hot and cold out, segregate the children. So, maintain the alternating floor, maintains static pressure, reduces the amount of particular buildup. You don't have anything dropping through there, kicking anything, less than a little safety hazard. Filler panels, blanket panels, common. There's all kinds out there, but you see people just not adhering to it. They're everywhere. Or people just aren't doing the crushed on the case. We kind of put that everywhere, inside the top of the cabinet, around the rails itself, even in the bottom of the enclosure as well. We've seen some of the enclosures where you actually can eliminate the casters and levelers and actually seal the cabinet over the raised tile. And actually that's your intake that way, but you don't have to actually pull the engine. Some other, I'm just keeping this open and really general, so any comments and we can kind of just go from there. Also, best practices, grounding your equipment, everyone's what we need to do there. So, isolated grounding with inside the enclosure. Also, pop the bus bar, each equipment actually gets a separate lead. That way it's a positive ground. You're certain that the equipment is grounded rather than hoping that it's grounded to the cabinet. The cabinet is grounded going through that. It's always not a good contract that way. And then also grounding every panel within the enclosure, making sure doors, sides, tops, bottoms, whatever, actually is all connected to a common ground as well, and then going out of the facility from there. Well, within the next thing the data center is, okay, what am I going to be doing with the equipment? How do I want to manage it? What type of heat load am I going with the new cabinet? So you have certain choices to make. 30-inch wide or wider cabinets, typically going to be for networking or a higher density, so you can accommodate cable management. Everyone's been trying to squeeze the real estate on a data center, but what happens is you start hurting your cooling, the exhaust. A lot of the equipment has the cable bridges, so what we're seeing, people eliminating the cable bridge off the back and just letting everything hang down. Blocks all your cabinet, a very large heat buildup in the back of the cabinet. You might not even know. I mean, in the pod aisle it might be 85, but right in between the exhaust of the cabinet, it's common sense, to where the mesh exit of the door is, you're seeing upwards of 105 degrees, and that's, you might not know. So I basically carry with me, as everyone knows already, is a little heat temp gun, and I just follow everything through and find out hotspots right there and address it immediately. So 30-inch wide cabinets, networking, cable management, managing the cable segregation of power and data. But what that does is push everything on the outside the EIA space is what I call it. It's what you would see a 19-inch EIA, 19-inch EIA out the back. You want to keep that free for your heat flow. So the 30-inch wide cabinets actually does twofold. Manages cable and eases up your cable management. But you have real estate issues. So some people will always want to go with a 24 wide and go deeper. That's what we're seeing as a trend. We're seeing cabinets going 24 by 48, and what they're doing is putting 4 PDUs, 4 circuits, on one side of the cabinet, and then managing all the cables on the other side. People are trying to still jam that amount of density in a 36-inch deep enclosure, and they're coming to us with heat issue. What happens is there's no way around it for this physical space. You have to go deeper and start putting everything on the outside to ease up that heat flow.